In October 2020, Hackney Council suffered one of the UK's worst ever cyber attacks. It wrecked systems and caused havoc across the borough.
This wasn't just an IT issue. It caused real-life problems for tens of thousands of people. More than 18 months on, things still aren't back to normal.
Some lost their homes.
I can't imagine how in 2022 there could be so many people suffering from one cyber attack.
Some face enormous bills.
You are warned that following this notice, your landlord may take steps to re-enter the property and forfeit your lease without further notice to you.
The cost to the council alone was £10 million.
Everybody asks for that magic moment where you turn something back on. You can't turn something back on that doesn't exist anymore.
And our exclusive research shows some councils and public institutions don't appear to have adequate protection, meaning not just our data, but the services we all rely on could be at risk.
But first, let's rewind a year and a half. The country still under COVID restrictions, almost everything run online. Hackney is hacked. Its systems infected with ransomware. As the name suggests, software demanding payment, normally in Bitcoin, to unlock the data. Experts who've looked at the code believe the hackers were either from Russia or the Russian state itself. Hackney, as is UK policy, did not pay. They wiped systems, including for council tax services, benefit payments, housing applications, property sales, even children's services meant to protect vulnerable children.
Most of those still aren't back to normal after nearly 2 years, and many other services were also affected.
The hack resulted in Leon and his family of 7 being forced to leave their home. His housing benefit couldn't be updated, so his landlord wasn't paid the right rate. We agreed to hide his identity because the exact same thing is happening again.
To be honest, the children are far more resilient. For my wife, it's the hardest. The instability of the situation. There's also the concern that if we are going to have to move out, where would we go? All we're begging for is a resolution to resolve this issue. I mean, how long can the answer be? There's been a cyber attack. It's now 18 months and still no response to any emails or phone calls from ourselves.
Leon and others I've spoken to have been critical of Hackney's handling of the aftermath. Countless hours spent waiting in telephone queues with no answer, letters and emails sent to no reply. Laura moved during the pandemic. For 18 months, despite repeated requests, she wasn't given a service charge bill by Hackney, who own the freehold. The council blamed the hack. Then one day, she got a legal threat in the post for not paying.
When I had the court order, I was very worried because it said that from the date of the letter forward, somebody could enter my property to reclaim it, essentially, because I was in breach of the terms of my leasehold, which was really concerning because that made me feel very insecure in my own home and very unsafe.
It was withdrawn after she got her lawyers involved. Her flat now has mould because the gutters are broken, and the council reporting system for repairs has also been affected. Some Hackney residents face delayed bills which could rise to thousands of pounds. Others have paid, but been overcharged. It makes financial planning almost impossible. The Mayor of Hackney says the council is working to rebuild trust with residents.
Well, a criminal cyber attack on an organisation during COVID in one of the poorest parts of the country is a despicable act. We have invested to ensure those sorts of things couldn't happen, but it did. And the people that have been impacted, I can only apologise for that and say that we've worked tirelessly to recover our systems, put that right and ensure it can't happen again. A disgusting criminal organisation has left the borough weaker in our response to cost of living and COVID, and had a huge impact on our residents.
How many people in Hackney have been unable to pay council tax or been getting the wrong bill or been overcharged as a result of the attack?
We don't have that exact number, I'm afraid. It's definitely in the tens of thousands if you add up all of the different impacts.
How many people in Hackney didn't get the benefits they were entitled to as a result of the attack?
I can't put a figure on that.
Do you think the council has failed some of its citizens?
In some of the examples, if they've sent the wrong letter in the wrong way, then they've obviously failed.
So, how easy is it to hack a council? FC is an ethical hacker. He finds the flaws in cyber defences so they can be fixed.
So what we've done is we've performed a scan of all of the council websites. So not only all of the council websites, but all of the subdomains of those council websites. So there's thousands of websites that we have checked. We've just run a very simple scan across them all, and you can see that there are some vulnerabilities that should be fixed. These are fairly simple things to fix. There are literally hundreds of issues here.
And how many of these issues could be exploited by hackers?
Pretty much all of them.
What FC shows me next is even more worrying. A brief search in the right forums, and this is what he finds.
We're obviously going to blur this.
Yeah.
But you can see the names of staff at a council with their passwords. And these are very specific passwords, the kind of passwords that people are likely to reuse.
If I was a bad actor or like a criminal, this is a gold mine of information.
Just enter
you
all
just
of them.
enter all of these and
Hope
all
one
of these,
hits.
and I'm guarantee you at least one of those will work within that council.
Exclusive figures for ITV News London reveal a huge disparity in how much some councils and other public services are spending on cybersecurity. I won't reveal names as it could make them a target. The highest annual council cybersecurity budget we found was £1 million a year. The lowest, just 32,000. That's 30 times less, and this council has an even bigger population than the first. In terms of hospitals, one trust says it spends £1 million a year on defences. Another, slightly smaller, but very prominent hospital trust has a budget of less than 30% of that.
I mean, is there any way that a council which holds lots and lots of people's personal private information, is there any way that £30,000 a year could be enough on cyber defence?
Absolutely not. There's no way that you can run any sensible cybersecurity regime with just £30,000.
Jess, who's married to FC, is a leading cybersecurity expert.
It's very hard to put a definite figure on what any organisation and certainly a council should spend, but I would expect to see a good amount of money, say maybe £1 million.
Hackney refused to say what their budget is or was, but the mayor says they've moved to more secure, cloud-based systems.
There is obviously an understanding that the cyber attack happened and that was out of Hackney's control. But for the people who've had to leave their homes, the people that have been sent threatening letters, people that are unable to claim money that they are owed, there is a sense that they have been failed by the council in its handling of the aftermath. Do you feel a responsibility about that?
Of course I feel a responsibility, and I understand the anger, the sense that we haven't put it right, the impact that it's had on people. And that is why throughout the attack I've said our number one mission is supporting the most vulnerable and rebuilding that trust with us as an organisation. And I know that journey isn't complete, and for those very worst cases that is going to be an even bigger effort.
There are only brief cybersecurity guidelines that public services have to follow. They can decide their own budgets and which technology to use.
I think one of the key ways that we can see organisations step up is if we all demand more security of them, and if we all can ask more and ask for more information about actually how our data is being protected, how the systems that operate some of the basic services that we receive, how they're being protected too.
Already under immense financial pressure, public services like councils face dedicated hackers, experts in their field, funded by powerful criminal gangs and sometimes by nation states themselves.
And the reality of this and what we're trying to get across is that cybersecurity can affect anybody.
Yeah, that's right, Charlene. I think we all hear about cybersecurity, and there's a temptation to see it as an IT issue, that the worst case scenario is perhaps your computer breaks or maybe your data will be leaked online. That did actually happen to about 1,000 Hackney residents. But what we are seeing here with these attacks on public services is that the real world, real life effects can be really, really serious.
So what needs to change in that case?
Okay, I think what's important to point out, first of all, is that budgets, cybersecurity budgets, only tell us so much. What that money is spent on, the kind of training that's used, the culture of cybersecurity at public services, these are all really important. But what it does show is a lack of consistency when it comes to dealing with the threat of cyber attacks. And we've seen some of the outcomes here. And what some experts would like are clearer standards that councils and other public institutions should follow, preferably brought in by the government, that would show exactly what kind of technology, what kind of money they need to be spending. The government has acknowledged the threat from cyber attacks. They say they want to make public services much more resilient against attacks by 2030. But the question is, what happens in the meantime?
All right, Sam, thanks very much for that.